Hi, in this video, I would like to introduce you to Sara Kershnar, the co-founder of the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network, which appears to be an anti-Semitic network. Ms. Kershnar recently gave a talk about her work, and she started the talk by saying, "A lot of our agenda is not to get into debates with Zionists, because even with liberal scientists, we don't believe that you move people that way." This is a loaded sentence with an anti-Semitic premise that is not shocking, yet disappointing. The phenomenon of Jews becoming anti-Semitic and zealot about their newfound ideology of hatred unfortunately has a long history, and it is a phenomenon that is hard to explain. Ms. Kershnar's demeanor in her talk was more than just anti-Semitic. It was also defiant and non-apologetic, which qualifies her as a cult leader. She presented herself as a person who cares for the underdog, in this case the Muslim population of Judea and Samaria, when it seems to me to be an excuse for justifying her personal hatred of Israel. Like any other cult leader, she made it very clear that she encouraged her followers to isolate themselves from the people who don't share their way of thinking unless it's for the purpose of recruiting them. Like a cult leader, Ms. Kershnar emphasized that her main focus is on the strategy that she uses for recruiting new members, to include new funding organizations. Generally speaking, size translates into peer power, and once the peer power is established, it becomes a source of comfort of knowing that one is not alone. Individuals are surrounded by like-minded people who continuously reinforce and normalize the group ideology. When the group is large enough, it can become a political power as well. According to Ms. Kershnar, the strategy she uses to recruit members of organization is reframing. Another way to call her brand of reframing is generating alternative facts, which means lies. Cognitive reframing is done commonly in therapeutic environments where individuals learn to override negative thoughts with positive ones. But she does the opposite, overriding positive thoughts with negative ones, inciting you to hate Israel. Like a cult leader, Ms. Kershnar wants her audience to look only at things at face value, the way she presents them, without investigating or fact-checking them. As she stated, her idea is to move people, which means to incite people into anger, regardless of the truth. One of her sentences was, "It's the conditions and the strength of the struggle that does that," meaning that incite people into action. Then she said, "You need that accountability," means you need to hold Israel accountable. The problem with this statement, as is with her general premise, is that although it sounds like she is inciting people to do the right thing, it doesn't apply neither to the group of people she advocates for, nor to the people she holds accountable. Her conclusion is wrong because her base premise is faulty to begin with. Here is the truth. There are Muslim neighborhoods in Judea and Samaria that are specifically designated to poverty and suffering, by their own local Muslim governments for the purpose of propaganda and indoctrination. The Western mind cannot grasp it and therefore cannot believe it. And people like Miss Kershnar take advantage of it. There have been dictators in the world that exploit their own population, and the Western mind seems to be able to grasp it when it comes to single individuals, such as one Hitler. But the difference here is that in this case, the aggressor is not a power-happy individual, but a religious doctrine called jihad. And this is too hard for the Western mind to grasp. The Western mind is strongly influenced by the Judeo-Christian morality and spirituality, which associate religion with the protection and appreciation of human life at any cost. The Western mind automatically rejects any notion of human beings being designated to poverty, suffering, and even the sacrifice of their children's lives by a religious doctrine. To the Western mind, this doctrine is counterintuitive to human nature. Not many Westerners can understand and accept this kind of suspension of moral judgment that the jihad doctrine demands from its own people. Ms. Kershnar counts on the Western ignorance of the jihad mindset in order to convince her audience that poverty and suffering in the Muslim neighborhoods in Judea and Samaria must be the result of the bad Zionists being power happy. Furthermore, she cleverly leads you to this conclusion without specifically uttering it, in the same way that a recent former president incited a large group of people to ransack the US Capitol without uttering publicly any word that would incriminate him. Ms. Kershnar is using the same strategy of moving people as did Christian and Muslim authorities in the past to ransack, kill, and obliterate entire Jewish villages since the Middle Ages. It's very hard to give her the benefit of the doubt that she doesn't know the truth or that her activities are not nefarious. In her talk, Ms. Kershnar stated, "Not only we have to create our own news, but also our own narrative and way of thinking and talking about it." In other words, by her own admission, she creates alternative facts because under the protection of free speech, there is no one to stop her. She moves people by appealing to their emotions, regardless of the truth, because when it comes to anti-Semitism, the truth doesn't matter. Further in her talk, while accusing the bad Zionists, whoever they are, of using the Holocaust to advance their political agenda without substantiating any of her claims, the only claim she did substantiate was her own solicitation of an Auschwitz survivor for the advancement of her own political agenda. I am gravely disturbed by her exploitation of a victim of anti-Semitism in order to defend her brand of anti-Semitism. She gravely offended every Auschwitz survivor while pointing her finger at the so-called Zionists. Continuing to attack Israel, she reported that she did an exhaustive report of Israel's role in the worldwide repression of people, which I don't plan to read, because if she makes her own narrative of alternative facts, there is no point in reading it. There are already exhaustive reports on the protocols of the Elders of Zion that claim that the protocols is real historical account, although it is fiction. And Ms. Kershner's exhaustive report about fictional Israeli repression seems to fall within the same category. In spite of declaring multiple times that she is not focusing specifically on Israel, Israel was the single country that she focused on in her talk. She did exactly what she said she was not doing. She stated that she wanted her followers to put Israel on the defense and to pass the proof of proving innocent to Israel. But on the other hand, she also stated that she has no intention of listening to this defense because she already found Israel guilty. Further in her talk, Ms. Kershnar described with pride her efforts to moving not only adults but also children to hating Israel by inserting antisemitic material into school curriculums in the United States, is currently done in Muslim schools. The last point that Ms. Kershnar left her audience with was the statement, Israel is doing a field test job on Palestinians and all over Europe. I confess that I didn't understand this statement. But what I did understand from this statement, as well as from her entire talk, is that when it comes to anti-Semitism, the truth doesn't matter. If you didn't know, now you know. Bye.